Last 9. Time to suckle on the teat of tech with Paul Brislen at twitter.com/Paul Brislen. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good, who's had a bit of a late night, and we'll get to why he's had a late night shortly. But let's refer to what we were talking about last week. We're talking about copyright, new copyright legislation coming in.
Right.
And exactly what the copyright holders will be monitoring in order to catch people out. Now, last week we were talking about don't get your TV through BitTorrent or any other peer-to-peer file sharing networks. There are other ways to do it.
Exactly.
Now, that has been confirmed by a statement put out by Internet New Zealand.
That's right. They've obtained a clarification from the Ministry of Economic Development that looks after this new piece of legislation. The full title of which is a bit of a giveaway, really. It's Copyright, Infringing File Sharing, Amendment.
Right.
So, really, all they are doing is looking at copyright infringement that uses peer-to-peer protocols. They won't be looking at web streaming. They also say they won't be looking at online file lockers. So the likes of Dropbox, they absolutely won't be enforcing anything over there. It's purely about file sharing.
Now, basically, because technically they can't, right?
Well, technically it's very difficult. It's a costly business. What they have to do is get into the realms of what they call deep packet inspection, where basically they set up a fairly expensive bit of kit to monitor all the traffic that passes through the network and to examine the packets themselves to see what they're made up of. Now, that is incredibly intrusive. I'm not sure whether it slows it down or not. It seems to me that it probably should. That might be all right at a business level when you're sort of running a company and you want to monitor who's selling your secrets to the Russians. But other than that, frankly, if this is my computer, I really don't see that they've got any right to be inspecting things at that kind of level. And I'd be very unimpressed.
But there's no reason for New Zealand ISPs to look at that because the law as it stands doesn't put the onus on the ISPs, it puts it on the copyright holders.
That's right. So the ISPs can't be blamed for or legally challenged for what their customers do. They simply act as a conduit to pass the notices on to the account holders.
That's right.
So their role is really just to pass the information along. First of all, they've got to make sure that they're passing along to the right person, and there's quite a bit of cost involved in faffing about and having a look at just who's connected at a certain time on a certain address and all that kind of thing. But that aside, that's really all their role should be. So
why are you were just saying some ISPs are looking at this deep packet inspection technology. Why?
Well, I think ostensibly because they think that they need to, and also because they'd really like to. You can get some really good user demographics about who's doing voice over IP, who's transmitting objectionable material, who's breaching copyright. You could really solve a lot of problems by basically turning us into a police state. And that is the problem. It's probably quite appealing for some of the ISPs to just say, righto, well, what we'll do is we'll monitor everything you do, and that way we also pick up all the virus activity and all of the breaches of name suppression and all the rest of that as well. And will be a much safer place once we've sanitized it. And to my way of thinking, that's just several steps too far. We really do have to think about these in context.
So this is a can of worms. This is a can of worms right here. So what ISPs are looking at doing this, and how far down the track are they?
Well, I think everybody should be well placed to ring their ISP and say, do you do deep packet inspection, and find out directly from them. I don't know of any who are doing it already. Certainly none who've confirmed it to me officially. But certainly a number of them are talking about, maybe we need to go down that path. Now, clearly the law says you're not liable, so they can't rely on that and use it as an excuse to do it. And there's also quite a cost in it. And, of course, the costs of any of that kind of thing would be passed on to the likes of you and me.
Indeed.
So, yes, we won't be going down that track anytime soon.
Okay, and just to wrap this part of the story up, Internet New Zealand Chief Executive Vikram Kumar says that what this means is that watching videos on YouTube or via Blinks or streaming music from Grooveshark and downloading from online file lockers like Mediafire and RapidShare, ones like that, will not be subject to the changes introduced by the amendments to the law coming into force. MED's confirmation address is one of the questions that arose when we were looking at the law changes in detail. So
that's right.
So there's your statement, and that will also perhaps give you a clue of where you should be going if you're trying to get the latest episode of TV.
That's right. That's right. The other exclusion from the Copyright Act is the mobile networks. They don't have to introduce this for quite some time. So while everybody else is doing it September the 1st, the mobile guys don't have to do it for a couple of years yet.
Okay. Now, well, we can talk this one to death, but this message needs to get out to everyone in New Zealand, does it not?
Well, I think the people that really need to hear it are the rights holders. You know, I was talking to musicians last night who say they absolutely have no problem with people accessing their music and paying them for it. And I said, you know, their real problem is if people just stop paying for it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, has that happened? And they said, well, there's no sign of it at all, because at the moment with record companies and big record labels, they end up paying a large chunk of any earnings they get straight to them. And so they see this as a way of cutting out the middleman and just talking straight to the customers.
Meanwhile,
it's fantastic.
Meanwhile, you've got ning-nongs like APRA and Rian's who purport to be representing these artists, and they just aren't. But anyway, let's move on from that.
Okay.
2An's Awards last night. That's why you had a late night. What went down?
Yes, it was a very long night. It was good, though. It was very good. We had the Innovation Awards. These were our 20th annual awards. So just when you were still in nappies, these awards had kicked off there, young Wammo. And we celebrate the innovation in the industry, and generally people drink an awful lot of wine. Yeah. So it was a good night. It was had by all.
Who were the big winners?
We've got 8 judged awards and 3 voted awards, voted by the public.
Yeah.
And the 3 voted awards, 2 of them went to 2 degrees. So they won the best mobile provider and the best carrier of the year, and that's the overall category. The ISP of the year went to Snap Internet, and that's the 3rd year they've won it in a row. So they're very pleased.
Okay.
And the comments from the voters were fantastic. So I think we'll do that again next year. We'll have a bigger voted awards. There certainly is an awful lot of interest in the sector.
Certainly well deserved for 2 degrees. I can definitely vouch for them as being game changers really in the industry.
Well, they've really shaken things up, haven't they? And it's good to see. I'm not a fan of cosy complacency. But it's absolutely good to see everybody getting in, because of course that'll wake the other guys up, and everybody will have a crack. So that's good for us.
Good. All right, we'll end it there, because I think you might have reached the end of your concentration span for today.
It's falling apart. I think you need a fluffy.
Paul Brislen on Twitter as well, if you want to continue the conversation there. Thanks, Paul. Cheers.
Thank you.
Here's Electric Confectioneers.